Hello, and welcome back to the 100th episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling, geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident dream infiltrator of the pod, DL!
Dream infiltrator, extractor, and centurion. Centurion?
All of the above.
Is centurion 100?
DL, how have you been for the last 100 episodes?
Well, a lot of prep and a lot of mistakes along the way. Welcome to episode 100. Have a listen. Oh, wrong hole.
You good?
Yeah, wrong hole.
So...
No, I'm not. No, I'm good. No, I'm not. All right, I drink some water.
Maybe drink some more.
Voice is dying.
Like shit. Drink some more.
I don't think it's gonna help. I think it's like stuck.
That little bit where you tried to talk that is primo for the 100th episode, by the way.
I think I'm better.
Drink some water.
I think you're better now.
Right.
Okay, bud. Christopher Nolan movie.
Are you ready? I wanna touch you. You wanna touch me too.
Next summer, he'll discover statues, walk in the fog on top of a train, and dress like a Nazi while he finds what looks like a sundial.
It's a show, isn't it?
Runs like a horse.
Dude, you shouldn't be doing that. It's real bad for you.
We all know.
Could
Could you imagine running at a train with a horse? That's a bold strategy.
At a train?
Yes.
I remember that bit. Oh! It's as high as I can go. Thanks, mate.
It's baritone at best.
Go on, show me your heist. Not bad. Sounded strained though. Sounded like you really had to try for it.
That was a falsetto, bro.
You got it. Yeah, baby, you got it. I think.
Tell me something tall. Are you tired of trying to find a place? Do you need more square feet for cheaper rent?
Yeah, I need that.
Stumbles into a Nazi plot to uncover one of the greatest religious mysteries of all time. The location of the Ark, as described in the good old testy.
Ark of... the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
My favorite testy.
Sorry, the Ark of the Covenant. Not the Ark of the Covenant, because that could be confused with Noah's Ark, which is also an Old Testament. Multiple Old Testy
So many arcs.
greatest hits. And it's not really a theory. I think it is a theory. It's more of a rewrite. But a lot of people posited after Phantom of the Menace. Menace
Phantom of the
Menaces
Menace.
of Phantoms.
It's like a mix of Phantom of the Opera and
What
Star
is it?
Wars.
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Came out. And, you know...
It's just a dude who comes out from the chandelier wearing the red face paint of Darth Maul.
The Phantom of the Menace has arrived. Double lightsaber. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Where was I before that?
All right, ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hey, man.
That's definitely gonna go in the 100th episode.
Sorry, that was racist. Oh my god. At least I said sorry. At least I apologize, all right? Why do we sing?
Thank you to... Yeah, why do we sing? Thank you to podcasting legend and friend of the show, Mr. Matthew Bliss, for that smash cut of 100 episodes of absolute nonsense. And thank you, everyone, for sticking with it. He has also supplied the time codes for the episode. So if you want to jump around, feel free. You can jump to our main topic or listen to us chat rubbish about 100 episodes.
Run like a horse, you know?
Run right at that train.
Who knew drinking water was so dangerous? Not I. Said the fly.
Apparently you didn't. And if you are new to the pod, why not give us a 5-star review? You can do it in-app. You can do it right now. It's super easy. Just hit that 5 stars.
Yes, this isn't Best Buy, but there is a Geek Squad, and you got friends that are geeks as well. If they like this stuff, send it through.
Yeah. Pass the pod, guys.
Pass the pod.
Well, look, welcome. Welcome everyone who has joined us from our competition that's been running on our socials. Thank you all, for everyone, for joining from Instagram. We will be announcing the winner of the competition just a little later on in the pod, so stick around. We'd love to have you around. DL, what have you been up to, buddy? What's been happening?
Oh, man. Whatever. Winter has come.
Winter has come.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And for us, it's just rain.
It's
not the White Walkers.
I'm from the UK. It's like, this is normal to me.
I can't wear my, suede shoes anymore.
Oh, mate, that's
that's
such a first world problem for you.
It's a big deal.
I feel for you deep down. Deep in here. You can't drink water and you can't wear suede shoes.
I just, just so you know, I just flirted with death.
Oh, wow.
Right now.
Oh, wow.
I had a sip of water.
Wow.
Anyway,
Matt must have to cut out so much nonsense from these episodes.
Yeah,
all the way through.
Honestly, and we only started tracking that stuff like 20 episodes ago, probably.
No.
So if you
imagine the gold he missed.
Yeah, just imagine how much shit there was.
How much absolute nonsense all the way through.
Terrible singing.
I mean, mostly just singing, apparently.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much singing we did.
I think we need some new songs, though. Next time. I don't know.
Well, you did a few different ones in there. You did a bit of Star is Born. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's easy.
Is that the right movie? I'm sure that's the right movie.
It's a very sad movie.
I've never seen it.
Friend of the show, Brett Goodman. I caught him crying on the plane.
Watching that movie?
Video evidence.
Oh, my days.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. It's a pretty sad ending.
I've never seen it, so I don't know. But speaking of movies, DL, what have you been up to in our Geeky Sphere this week? We like to talk a little bit about the things we've been doing and what we might recommend.
Yeah. I'm just going to double down on my Yellow Jackets reference.
Oh, yeah.
We burned through season 1. I think there's 2 more episodes left for my rewatch, Gail's first watch. It's fucking good. I'm so excited to watch the new season. You should watch it.
Yeah, talk to me. Remind me of the premise. I'm really bad at this.
Again?
Yeah, again.
Are you reverse selling me?
Yeah. Maybe.
Team of soccer players going for nationals. Last time I said it was state, they actually made it to nationals.
They made that.
But they didn't quite make it to nationals because the plane crashes.
Lots
of, Lord of the Flies meets fucking Lost meets some kind of, Blair Witch project.
Blair Witch? Oh, so there are supernatural elements.
Well, we don't know, but it's implied.
Kind of sneaking them in there. That's so fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. And meets like The Exorcist, meets like fucking.
So after you said
show.
this last time, it's gone up. It's like top of the list for us. But we're watching one thing that I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is we have to finish this first before we can move on to it. And there's 3 seasons.
Never stopping. Yeah.
Never stop.
Another thing I watched this week, but yeah.
Wait, which is that? That's the
Andy Samberg. Lots of.
I started that as well.
I got like halfway through.
And I turned it off?
No, I'm down to finish it.
Okay,
I actually find his humor hilarious.
Me too. I just think it's a bit much when it's a full-length movie version.
When it's a musical?
Yeah. It's a lot.
There were some pretty funny parts. The song's not gay.
That's that Macklemore song, right? I'm sure he's just doing that Macklemore song.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Macklemore's got the song Same Love. And it's literally that all the way through. It's like I'm so down for y'all to be gay, but I'm not gay. It's like that. It's that exact song.
I didn't know
it
that.
must be a rip of that.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. There's another. The best one is when he makes a song about Spain, and it's like I don't remember what it is, but it makes fun of their lisp.
Oh,
in Barcelona.
Right.
It's really good. Next episode, I'll come with it.
So explain the premise of the movie, just because.
Sorry, never stop
completely
stopping.
Forgotten.
It's like a boy band. It's like a fake.
What? It is Lonely Island, right?
It's Lonely Island, but what is it? It's like a fake. What do you call it when it's a fake documentary? Mockumentary.
It's a mockumentary.
Mockumentary
slash
about,
movie.
Like a boy band that like breaks up. One guy goes solo, and it falls their like reunion. And there's like they have everybody. They've got like Usher in it, Nas, and they all like do these interview. Pink is singing, like every single person, and it's like
celebrity you think.
Yeah, any I don't know how he like pulled this, but he got them all. And they're just.
They don't do a lot. They just talk.
Yeah, they're just talking about like the Style Boys and like how they broke up and they're this great thing for music, and then it follows Andy Samberg and his demise, and then eventual reunion of the band.
I'm pretty sure by the end of it they're gonna all get back together. Yeah, and it's gonna be one big show
for sure.
Surely,
for sure.
Like it's a little tropey, but I kind of enjoy his humor though. Like
I specifically do like his humor.
I think I prefer their humor when it's all 3 of them together, and that's kind of ironic because the point of it is that they're all like broken up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I got to the part where they are about to get back together. I think.
Yeah, okay. That must be pretty far through.
And it's it's good. It's it's better than what's that other movie, Hot Rod?
Oh yeah, that was bad.
I don't like that one.
No.
Like he's progressed a lot since that. But that one's just kind of.
It's so dumb. But
growing up, like Napoleon Dynamite.
Growing up, like all my buddies, a bit like I think
love
Napoleon Dynamite for people. All my buddies like Hot Rod, watch it, and I'm like, no, this is dumb.
I watched it, but I didn't find it that funny.
I think I turned that off as well. Well, look, I've been up to a couple of fun things this week. I told you when we watched 2001: A Space Odyssey. Shout out for our episode on that. It's a weird movie, but I enjoyed it a lot. I had to build some serious brownie points to watch that, and I'm still in the red.
In debt.
I'm still in debt because it was so weird. And we sat down and we watched Bridesmaids this week, and I'd never seen Bridesmaids. I feel like that's controversial. Everyone I've said it to is like, "Oh my god, you haven't seen Bridesmaids," and I'm like, I didn't. When I first heard about it, everyone was like, "Oh, it's like The Hangover, but for women." I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't really need to see that then." And I watched it, and I was like, this is nothing like The Hangover.
It's not even
women.
close.
Not
Everyone
even
says that. Everyone makes that analogy. I had that same pitch. I watched it. I was like, it's kind of funny.
It's all right.
It's okay.
I didn't find
it's not even close to the same level as Hangover. That's not even like a sexist thing. Go have a girl go watch The Hangover. They will laugh harder at that movie because it's objectively funnier.
Yeah. Well, I you know this about me. I'm not into fart or like poo humor. That's not for me. And all of it's them like farting on a plane or like diarrhea in a sink, and I'm like, none of this is funny to me.
The Xanax scene was alright, but it's mainly just awkward.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of awkward humor in that movie. It's not really like, and it's not even like good Office.
Not good awkward
like
humor. No.
Steve Carell awkward.
Yeah.
It's like just why are you embarrassing yourself? It's like stop
this could all be avoided.
Yeah, stop doing that.
Actually, the best bits for me were when they did like serious or it's like quite touching or like heartwarming. Yeah. I thought that was great.
I don't really recall it that well, to be honest.
It's not, but like there's a bit that the partner keeps banging on about, which is like there's a new best friend and she's like 1,000 times better than the original best friend, and she does this beautiful speech, and the original one can't let it go, so she keeps getting the microphone and saying a bit more, and then she says like a thing in Spanish to try. Like that was objectively quite funny, but the way she explained it to me, I thought it was going to like blow my mind. It's not that good. Go on, what else have you been up to?
Honestly, man, that's all. I didn't have much time this week. I've been just yellow jacketing, never stop stopping, and then our main topic.
Well, I'll tell you one other thing that I watched.
What else did you do?
I was saying that before we got into Yellow Jackets, we've got 3 seasons of this show to watch. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
I have not seen it, but I've heard good things, except for this most recent season.
Okay, well,
it's getting tore up.
Interesting, because they did that to the last season. They did that to season 2, and then we're watching season 2 right now, and it's great. Like so if you see the first season, it sets up this great premise. And if you don't know anything about soccer football, who cares? Neither does the main character. Literally has no idea. And it's this great premise whereby they bring in this American football coach to coach a British soccer team, as I would say football. And it's a case of they're expecting him to lose. Like they're expecting him to fail. That's kind of the point of bringing him there. Yeah. But like he's such a nice person and he's such a heartwarming individual that he just wins everyone over. And they're like, oh man, we want him to win. We want to win now. Yeah. Like we want to get behind this guy. Yeah. And it's one of those things whereby I don't think I've ever had this watching anything before. I am genuinely surprised every episode that it still gets me in the feels every time. Like it's funny.
So it's that heartwarming.
Yeah. Like he's just such a
nice,
Apple or
genuine.
Yeah, it's Apple. Yeah. So you can use one of your 3-month free things.
I literally have one right now.
So many. I got a 6-month one. I got some free AirPods from work. First world problems over here. Yeah. And it was like, you've got 6 months free. I'm like, that's like, what's the point of giving me 6 months free?
I feel like every time I go see a movie, they offer me free.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. But look, it's genuinely really, like the first series in itself is great. I like what they're doing in the second season. They're turning one of the characters round into being like a bit of a villain of the piece, but they're doing it really nice and subtly. And I'm really excited to see the third season. Really excited to get there. So we've got, they're only like 20-minute episodes as well. So they're not exactly like going to waste all of your life, but it's worth it because you watch 1 or 2 and you come away either really heartwarmed or you're like really behind the characters. And there's like a subplot where Ted's getting divorced in the States, but it gets you, man. It's really highly recommend. You should totally go away and watch it.
It's on my list, but again, there's so many. And Apple's just Apple.
I mean, Apple's kind of in its own little corner, isn't it?
I never ever.
What else have they got that's good?
No, they do have a couple things. They've got that one that's with where you go to work and you forget who you are or whatever.
Oh yeah, I want to watch
that's
that.
Apple.
So that when
people swear by that one,
they forget everything that
Severance.
happens. Yeah, okay. Oh, Severance. Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
Apple. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
No wonder I haven't seen it anyway.
Exactly.
Because that's been on the list for ages as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, what we do now is we talk a little bit about the things we've heard in our geeky sphere. A little bit of what we call news. It's not really news, is it? It's just fun stuff that we've heard.
It's fun. It's fun.
Stick around, though. That winner will be announced very, very soon. DL, what have you heard this week?
Well, nothing. There wasn't all that much for this week.
Considering last week was like everything in the world happened.
I did see something on. Did you see that like meme or there was like a video going around of how Infinity War? There's apparently a 40-minute scene that has never been released of how Thanos gets the Power
Stone.
Power Stone.
Yeah. That would be so
Are they going to
cool.
release? They have to, surely.
Release the Thanos cut, everybody.
Yeah, they for sure have to. I don't know if that's news. That might have been out there for a while, but I saw it circulating my feed.
I would love to see that. Would you?
Yeah.
Would you watch a 40-minute longer version of that movie?
100%.
You would?
100%.
It's already a long movie. It's like 3 hours.
What he's like, Lord of the Rings extended edition.
Yeah.
Certain movies are worth it.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And it's good character building for him as well. I feel like
I kind of like how it started though.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like the tone set of like
lobbed in,
just killing Loki like immediately.
Spoilers for that movie if anyone's not seen Infinity War.
He comes back. It's all good.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Different variation. I'd be excited to see that. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I hope it comes. I don't know if they'll ever release
it.
They probably will.
Imagine if it was bad though.
I mean, then they wouldn't.
Imagine if it ruined the whole tone of the movie.
But I do think it would ruin like the tone of the start for sure.
It would slow it down.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a big action scene because he's just attacking Xandar, right?
Oh, I guess we'd have to see. Yeah. But I guess maybe it's just cheese. You know, it's just like maybe there's nothing that it adds.
I would have liked to have seen more of Thanos on his own, like just battling through dudes.
You know what they could just like add parts and redo it.
Yeah,
like, people would buy it. Like, you know what I mean? If they're like, oh, it's not good enough, let's change it. Anyway, that was one thing I heard. I also heard, move over Harry Potter. Apparently Twilight's also getting a remake.
What? So last week we talked about the fact that Warner Brothers are making a 7-series adaptation of the Harry Potter books, basically a year per season, right?
Yes.
Is that what they're doing what is this?
I don't know. I just
here.
saw the headline and was like, yuck.
I don't like
threw up a little bit in my mouth and then I moved on. And I actually said to my partner, I was like, oh, they're doing the same thing they're doing with Harry Potter with Twilight. She goes, the movies were already too long.
Yeah.
And she's a fan. So this is a bad sign for them.
Oh, that's not good. I hate them. So have I told you this story before?
Bad.
We may have told you on the podcast before. Yeah, I had a girlfriend when I was way younger. I was like 20 or something. And she went away on holiday and she was like, no sex for you when I come back if you don't read these books. And I was like, I took it seriously because I was an idiot and I was 20. And I like sped through these books and she got back and I was like, I've done it. I know everything. Don't worry about it. And
quiz
she was
me.
Me quiz you?
No, that's what you said to her.
Oh, probably, yeah. She gave me like a piece of paper and was like, I expect this essay to be on my desk by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I was like, But look, I read them and like the only saving grace of those movies was that the soundtrack was kind of good. It was kind of like in a weird indie emo pocket.
No, it did. It did have, who was in that soundtrack was Mute Math.
Yes.
Love that band.
Yes. The only saving grace for me.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what as well, though. In the first movie, there is a song by, actually Robert Pattinson sings it himself, and it's really surprisingly good.
Not surprising. He's a fucking weirdo. Of course he's good. Of course he's got like a good emotive emo song. Yeah. He literally is that guy.
It's a shame he never released it. It really is. He's gone on to bigger and better things, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he's still weird.
Hey, look, DL, this week, did you hear?
Yeah.
Apparently, all of your favorite franchises are coming back. Legally Blonde, Stargate, RoboCop. Let me put a bit of context around this. So effectively, a little while ago, Amazon bought MGM, which had the rights to everything. I think they might have even had some of the rights to Bond, maybe. But what they're doing is they're effectively cherry picking all of the things that they like the look of and can, franchise out. Mm-hmm. And effectively, they're going to be remaking a bunch. So one that I was super keen on was, like I mentioned, RoboCop. Like, I didn't mind the remake they did recently. All right, so for context, RoboCop, the first film, if you watch it from the 80s, it is brutal.
Like, you mean like it's not a good movie?
No, it's great.
Yeah, I thought it was a classic.
It's a real classic. But then after that, it just quickly devolves into absolute nonsense and PG-13 hell. And then the most recent one, the reboot, I think it was in 2018, maybe. It was with Joel Kinnaman, the guy from Suicide Squad. And it was fun. Like, it wasn't a bad film. It was just PG-13. It was like, they just needed to
make it more gory.
Yeah, up that rating. You know, like people go and watch like R-rated movies now. Like
they always did.
Yeah, well, but like, you can make $1 billion on a Joker movie. You can make $1 billion on a RoboCop movie. The fan base is there. Baby.
Yeah, the problem with the RoboCop movie is though it's not going to be a small budget movie.
That's true.
There's no scenario where they make it small budget.
And also, Joel Kinnaman doesn't have that much charisma.
I weirdly like him and don't like him.
I do.
You know, like I get why people don't like him, but I kind of like it.
I think he's fun.
He's a bit too ripped.
Yeah,
he might be on steroids.
I mean, all of them are in Hollywood. Let's be frank. It's not steroids. It's human growth hormone.
Yeah, HGH.
HGH. Have you seen the size of Stallone's hands? He's had more human growth hormone than it's possible to put in your body. Yeah.
Isn't it like healthy to do at certain levels of it?
Probably not.
I don't know. Joe Rogan talks about that shit. He doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Okay. Have you seen his arms? He's a big boy.
I think he works out like 3 times.
I think maybe he did when he was younger.
Yeah, maybe.
Isn't that actually the intro to his podcast? It's like, work out, do the Joe Rogan podcast.
I thought it's like all day, all night.
Yeah, that's it. I've got you know my complete 180 on that podcast. I've actually started listening to some of them now. In fact, I listened to a really interesting one recently that I think you'll like, and it was about how the whole Catholic faith is supposed to be based on hallucinogenic drug experiences. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'll send you it. I'll send you it later. And like, don't get me wrong. Like my growing up, I went to church every weekend.
You sent me that. I listened to the whole thing.
It's really interesting.
I mean, it's not like it's actually not that crazy.
No, it's not at all.
They've known a lot about this stuff, but like, I just think that they weren't able to chemically prove it for that era.
Yeah,
but they definitely have in Rome.
Yeah,
and that was
absolutely.
like, you know. So,
and outside of Rome, in places where the Roman Empire moved, expanded,
and it makes sense when you consider like how far away the Catholic Church pulled from that.
Sure,
why like it's so demonized now?
I really like
the church has controlled the narrative for a long time.
I really like the interesting parts where I can't remember the guy who's interviewing. He goes into the Vatican and they go into the catacombs and there's all these weird mushroom like imagery, and they're really chatting about it. I'm like, oh man, that's so interesting. Imagine the church leaning into that and being like, yeah, it's all about psychedelics, baby.
We're in.
Word. Well, anyway, Dale, did you hear this week in our geeky spheres that Andy Serkis might be returning to Andor? Context around this, for anyone who hasn't seen Andor, go and watch it. It's bloody brilliant. In fact, you know what? Listen to our podcast on it and then go and watch it because it's bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
But Andy Serkis is part of one of the 3 episode structures within it, right? In the one when he's in the prison.
Rise up. What do they say?
I don't know.
Rise up.
I hope they say that.
They say something like that.
And it's
never stop stopping.
Yeah, never stop stopping.
What do they fucking say? What is it?
That's one of the
There's the catchphrase. They're all yelling it.
It's definitely not rise up.
It's rise up. What is it?
That makes me think of that bit in the Dark Knight Rises where they're like, what's up? You know, when they're like saying rise, 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 and he's got to rise from the pit.
Yeah.
In foreign language.
But it's in a different language.
Yeah.
But what is the It's killing me now. It's killing me.
I can't remember, but can you talk to me about Andy Serkis coming back to the show?
Because I'm kind of bummed about that.
I don't think he should.
It was way good the way it ended.
Yeah, he was like the perfect ending for that.
Maybe it'd be a flashback.
Could be a flashback.
Kind of also, I honestly think it was the perfect cameo. Just don't bring him back.
He was great.
You got to trust the writers.
He was in something recently as the bad guy I watched. What the hell was that? Oh, it was that...
Gollum? You got to watch. You got to trust the writers on that
it was
show.
the Luther movie. I told you about the Luther movie.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but he's just the bad guy. He's in the trailer.
Okay, well, I haven't seen that either.
You're definitely not going to watch Luther. You haven't seen any of the show.
I have seen the first season.
Oh, good. So out of 5, you've seen one. You've seen a 5th of the...
Yeah, but you told me I didn't need to see the rest.
You don't, but you should.
Shut the fuck up.
You don't, but you should.
What? All right. One way out. One way out. Or rise up. It's so off. Rise up.
I prefer your version. Long story short, I don't think he should come back. I think he was a good cameo and a good, interesting flash in the pan character for that part of Andor's life.
Yeah.
Good show though. Looking forward to that season 2 that's coming out in 2 years.
Best Star Wars thing. Best Star Wars content
Yes.
since
What do you
hate sand. No, it's really good. You got to watch it.
It's so good. Like, if you have any interest in Star Wars, I'd say absolutely go and watch this.
Yeah, it's
like,
really good.
It's so good. All right, final bit of news then before we move on. Superman Legacy. Now, DL, do you remember we talked about James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over the DC universe? They're going to do their own thing. They're going to make it amazing. They're going to make it very James Gunn. It's full steam ahead, baby. They're doing it. So James Gunn confirmed with an Instagram post that the script for the upcoming Superman adaptation is effectively complete, and they're moving into pre-production. And that's so exciting. That means we'll soon be finding out who our new Superman is.
He must have been super inspired.
Or he was just... Maybe he was sitting on it for years. He was like, he had this idea for a Superman movie. Like,
still, you got to write it, though.
That's very true. And I mean, some of it can change while they're going, more writers get a foot in it. But like, you excited to see a new Superman on screen?
I don't know if I'm excited. I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's Superman that's exciting. It's just like, okay, like, he's obviously fucking excited about this. Because all he does is tweet about it, talk about it.
It's true.
He's hyping it up, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not making it easy on himself. He's not like, lower your expectations. Like, no, he's talking it up. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. And also, the Marvel sucks. So
at the moment,
yeah,
it's not doing its best stuff. But then his final movie is coming out in a couple of weeks' time, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yep.
So the thing he does really well is like good emotional characters, like really good condensed, concise stories with like a big emotional punch. And I'm excited to see, like, this could go one of two ways in my eyes. And I think Superman's quite polarizing.
Super
like,
fucking boring.
It's not easy to do, like, just, it was a fine Superman movie. It's either really dull and it'll be a hot, fiery mess, or it'll be, like, really good. And I'm quite excited to see either way, because either way is going to be fun to talk about.
I think more likely it's going to be good.
For sure.
I think he's obviously really in touch with, like, what Superman's about. He, like, and he cares. And usually he clearly cares,
which is nice. I'm excited to see what he does with this anyway. Look, guys, if there's anything you've heard in the geeky sphere that we haven't touched on this week, hit us up at podcastassemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Tag us, send it us directly. We love it when you do. We'll call you out next time. DL, before we do the main topic, should we announce the winner of our competition?
Yeah.
Give me a drum roll. And the winner is Mike Greeny Coach. Well
Greeny
done.
Applause.
Big applause for your big guy. DM us your details and we will organize sending you your prize. And we hope you stick around for the rest of the content, because we have got one of DL's all-time favorite movies to talk about coming up right now.
Yes, this is it.
Do you want to preface the main topic, DL?
I mean, this movie, came out in probably... I remember seeing the previews, like, this movie came out the year after I graduated high school.
Oh, yeah?
Or, like, the summer after the first year of college. So it would have been, like, 2010.
Bang on, it is from 2010.
Yeah. It was just, like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to see this movie. Peak Leo, probably peak Nolan.
We will talk about
cast. It's Inception, and we've been kind of waiting to do this one for a while, and frankly, like, probably a top 3 movie for me.
I think we've been building up to it. So this is one of our many anthologies, and it's the directors we love. So what we've been doing is we've been going through a few of Chris Nolan's movies. We have thus far done, and we're going to rank these at the end of the show. We've done Memento, we've done Dunkirk, we've done Inception, we've done The Prestige, and we've done Tenet. And now we are talking about 2010's Inception. And it is, like I say, one of your all-time favorite movies. Yeah. So I'm so excited to talk about this. But DL, before we get into it, do you have a stupid plot summary for this? So stupid plot summaries came about because we're really bad at condensing movies. So we just thought we'd say it in the dumbest way we possibly could.
Yeah.
What's your stupid plot summary, DL?
The only thing more meta than the metaverse is this movie. I couldn't come up. There was a couple I came up with, and I think, yours probably was one of them. It's like we both came up with the same idea, I think. So let me hear yours.
Oh, you want to go with mine? Okay, all right. Yeah. A dream within a dream within a dream. The only version of a reality where it's feasible for Leonardo DiCaprio to have an age-appropriate love interest.
Fair.
It's so true.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our dumb. So it's kind of hard to summarize because this movie. You could summarize it as ... The entire thing was a dream. Like, you know, like how you always make those jokes, like, what if it ended? Like,
well, it was all a dream. It was all a dream. You could. Before we get into it, then, DL, do you want to guess me what the IMDb score is for this at present?
8, 9.
Ooh, it's 8. You were
I was
very
about
close.
to say it.
You were so close. What do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score is?
97.
No. Interestingly, it's 87. I think that's low for this.
Confused. Well, I'll tell you what. I saw this movie in high school, stoned for the first time, and I had no idea what was happening. For the first 30 minutes, was so confused.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Intrigued.
Let's talk about that.
My point is that's probably like part of the issue here.
Well, what do you think the Metacritic score is?
Part of me thinks Metacritic might be like, oh, this is so pseudo-scientific that it's not good.
Okay.
But I'm going to say it's an 82.
74. I think the confusion part affected a lot of people's viewing experience of this. So there was obviously director Chris Nolan, and DL mentioned that it's got a stacked cast. Like it's got Leo DiCaprio as Cobb, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Arthur, Elliot Page as Adrienne when she was Ellen Page.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Tom Hardy as Eames. It's got Ken Watanabe. It's got Cillian Murphy. Oh my God, it's got everyone. Marion Cotillard.
She's in every single Nolan movie.
So many Nolan alums, and I absolutely love it. And we're going to talk about all of those in a moment. But before we do, I'm bringing back an old favorite, DL, and we haven't done this for a long time. Because it's our 100th episode, I thought you might be interested in perhaps indulging me in a bit of goofy IMDb pictures.
Of course.
Now, do you remember why we do goofy IMDb pictures?
Of course. We like to view, for our favorite movies, people whose headshots don't really add up. If you're in a big movie like Inception, you're not becoming actor, you're probably going to try and have your publicist put something nice
Something
on.
Good, yeah.
And you're just
like an actual headshot.
Yeah, and usually there's always a few that don't.
Now, well, we have some absolute doozies this movie. What we'll do is we'll pop them on our Instagram and maybe poll them so you guys can let us know what you think. But we do have a current MVP, and it is Sonny Kaldineth, who was in a movie, which I can't remember which it was. It's so long ago. He was Mean Mongolian. Now, do you want to just explain this guy? This is our current MVP.
Yeah, he's kind of a pimp.
He's
just pimping.
He looks like a 70s pimp who's sort of, or he's, I don't know, maybe he's in like
or he's just a mean Mongolian. He looks
pretty mean
in the 70s.
He's got a great mustache, great afro.
In the 70s.
It's just like
mean Mongolian in the 70s. Then
yeah,
perfect.
It's weird. It's a random IMDb pick because he looks kind of confused, and he looks like he's full on like Hamlet in this.
He does look like he's trying to explain something to an idiot,
or he's trying to explain something that he doesn't quite understand.
maybe.
Now we've got a couple of challenges today. We normally only come with one, but I thought, as it's 100th episode, let's give you a couple. Okay. And I think this one is just so random, and I would like to know what you think. The first challenge of this week is Mr. Alan Hale, who plays the immigration officer at the end of the show, end of the movie. Well, exactly.
Oh my God.
Explain this to the listeners.
Dude? Okay, so it's literally a picture off like, Facebook, but like photos of, not photos like
from like
somebody else
25 years ago.
Somebody else has posted photo, tagged you're tagged in, and it's our
grainy as hell.
It is our mate who is the customs agent who, spoiler alert, lets Leo back in with God. And
or Santa Claus's father,
or like bad Santa, or Santa Claus's great grandfather, some really, really old dude
having a beer. It's super grainy.
The guy is so old.
The reason I find this funny is that on actually IMDb, when you look at the picture, it's actually more zoomed into the old dude than it is him. So it's really confusing.
So you're just like, huh?
Yeah,
that wasn't the customs agent.
It was really grainy. I clicked on it and I was like, oh, it's not the really old dude for some reason. Now,
is he in other movies?
I hope so. Now, our second challenge today, and this is bringing back an old MVP. I have no idea what movie he was in previously, but
you do remember it.
Makes me very happy when I saw this. Now, do you remember, DL, Mobin Khan, who plays the Mombasa casino cashier?
Yes, I do. Is he the bartender? Or
he's a casino cashier in Mumbai.
When Hardy.
Yeah. Do you want to explain a picture?
It's a headshot.
It technically is.
He's in a white suit. Is it white or is it beige?
It's kind of cream.
Yeah, he's in a cream suit, giving his best Blue Steel impression, but not really.
He's kind of got dead eyes.
He's got googly eyes. That's what he has. He's definitely got googly eyes. Yeah.
I love this. And I think he was an MVP for a while.
I think he was a challenger, but look, he's an extra in a couple movies. So.
I think the reason is because of how he's sat. It's very provocative the way he's got
his eyes with that. You're kind of like, what are you insinuating?
What are you insinuating?
What are you asking for?
So, DL, I'd love to know which you think is the goofiest IMDb picture from this movie out of those three.
I think Santa's great ancestor who takes the cake. Yeah.
You think Alan Hale is our current MVP?
Yeah, I mean it's literally like a fucking tag. It's like a high school reunion pic, but with like the founder of the high school.
Yeah, exactly. From like 2001. It's such a terrible picture. I don't understand why that would be your IMDb picture.
Couldn't tell you.
All right, let's get into this Inception movie then, DL.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me a little about the history of it and your connection to it before we get into it?
Yeah, man, it was just my connection. It's just one of my like all-time favorite movies as growing up. Like when I saw it, I was like, this is like, it almost made me want to be like, I have this whole career planned. Why don't I go and try write movies? Didn't do that, but that's like where it took me. It was like, this is so like intriguing to me how it's so tight, it's so well done, it's so creative.
Yeah.
Every element of it is so well architected and original. I just loved it. And I remember it was so much like, I think I asked for it for like Christmas.
Wow.
This is like back in like the day my mom was like, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, give me the Blu-ray of Inception. You got to remember, this is when Netflix still sent DVDs. So it was like, I was like, I'll just watch this whenever I want. And
Blu-rays were expensive back then, man.
Yeah, she was a nice present.
Impressive, yeah.
So that's what it was for me. And yeah.
So you saw it in cinema then?
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God.
Stony.
I gotta say, I would have
sobered up
loved
pretty
to
quick.
have seen this in cinema.
Yeah, you sober up pretty quick.
Right.
This movie, you got to keep up.
Because you saw it, I saw it for the first time with you about 3 years ago, and like the thing is, I think I'd had it spoiled for me on the internet so many times. I was like,
it's like hard to spoil.
It's crazy. Like I mean, obviously it had been like top level spoiled, but there's so many layers to this. I clearly didn't have.
Yeah, like
any
what
idea.
do you like? Well, I'm curious what was spoiled for you. Now, spoilers for this movie that's been out for 15 years.
Great question. Well, that's a very good starting point because we are just going to be doing spoilers all the way through. Yeah. No non-spoilers and spoilers, just straight into it. Let's talk about the plot because that's kind of the thing that at very top level I think had probably been spoiled for me. But to start with, you've got to really say that I think you've really got to get on board with the logic of this movie. Like if you don't sort of jump on board very early on that you don't know everything, and there's a lot of sort of hand waving. I think
like it moves fast enough upon first viewing, and you're confused enough that you don't actually like catch the plot holes. And there are a few, and we'll talk about them later, I'm sure. But like I actually thought upon first,
I jumped on straight away.
Yeah, I thought upon first viewing it moves at such pace that it actually works.
Absolutely.
And upon second viewing, I actually remember second viewing when I literally paused it and was like, hold on. And I like mentally, like, you know, subconsciously, like was like, let me actually try and conceptualize.
I have a plot hole that I thought of as I was watching it for this time round.
Yeah. You always find one and then there's like,
and like I was completely on board for this the moment it started, but it starts really interestingly. It throws you into a scene like immediately in a dream in a dream, effectively. And it's
more than that. I mean, if we're going full spoilers, the first scene is a dream in a dream, and the very first scene is limbo, but we don't know
limbo.
that.
You don't realize
it starts with the end of the movie. It's one of those. Like the beginning of the movie is the last scene of the movie,
which is fascinating.
Scenes. Yeah,
I really like that. But it starts off with effectively introducing you to all the characters, or a couple of characters, effectively Joseph Gordon-Levitt and DiCaprio's character, and it's great because they're showing you just what they do. Yeah, they're in a dream trying to heist Saito's information. It is a job, and it gets flipped on them very quickly. I find the really interesting about that first scene is they've got their little gang there, and the one dude with the long hair who's I didn't write his name down, is like he basically messes up and he like gets the carpet wrong, and like he gets killed like immediately.
Well, well, we don't know, but it's
fairly
implied.
Ambiguously.
It's implied for sure.
It's very much implied.
Well, I mean, they're literally like doing high stakes, illegal military technology. It is that kind of game. It feels like it's like the CIA, if they knew they were doing this, would kill them.
Absolutely. You know, well, tell me about the plot of this movie then. Like, it's
like
the vague outline.
At a high level, we follow. What is his first name? Arthur Cobb. What's his Cobb? Just Cobb.
Cobb.
Corn on the cob. Cobb double B.
Cobbception.
Dude, whose name is, I actually like it as a name, but it's no one name. Would be named Cobb. Like, what is that short for?
Coblet.
Why do I ask you questions?
Why did you ask
You ask the questions. All right, I'll answer. Coblet. The The plot, so it goes, is we follow Cobb and his crew, or at least really just Gordon. How do you say his name?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, as they are extractors, which in this realm is a military developed technology.
Yeah.
That was basically developed to allow the military to feel pain and have it all be fake, where you are dreaming and you can create dream states and live it like it's lucid dreaming.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
essence. They put you down and it feels like it's real life. And we follow them as they use this to actually extract information from targets. It's almost like a heist of the mind. If somebody knows something, they can set up scenarios with which that person is tricked into revealing said secret, said information that they need. It's an illegal thing that they're doing. They're kind of like black market, I don't know, not assassins, but thieves.
They're thieves.
Yeah,
That's
they're thieves at
literally
a highest level using military technology that is not supposed to be used in this way. Everything's kind of black market. So if they fuck up, there's big consequences and potentially, they could be killed.
And you find out very early that Cobb's character is seeing the consequences of those. Like the very top level of this movie, and the whole driving behind Leo's character is that he wants to get back to his family, and he's been caught doing this illegal shit, and he can't go back to the States.
Well, that's what's implied.
Yes, very much.
That's what's implied at the start. We're what's implied.
Well, that's what you believe from.
Yeah, that's what you believe for pretty much the entire movie until the end.
And they're hired by Ken Watanabe's character, who I love, by the way. Saito's great in this. To plant an idea in his business competitor's mind. Effectively, this is where the movie kicks off.
It kicks off with them failing a job with Saito, but doing a really good job.
Yeah.
And one of the guys making a mistake. And then Saito then actually says, hey, you actually did great.
Yeah.
I want to hire you to do something. But really what they're doing typically is extracting extraction information from a subject. And Saito wants actually to do what is called Inception.
So did you know that this movie actually started out as a concept in the 2000s? So Chris Nolan actually pitched it as more of like a horror movie. I find that fascinating.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, apparently, but it seemed a bit too ambiguous, and his ideas weren't locked in. So
well, it is a pretty ambiguous movie.
And he sort of, it still is. And he just took his time. He went, all right, well, this is a good idea, but I need to ruminate on this for longer.
Yeah.
I found that fascinating. Imagine this as horror. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know how you do horror with it, but I guess there would be cool elements for sure.
So cool.
But I think it ended up, the way it ended up,
well, we'll get into it.
So we continue to watch as they go through, and he recruits a team to basically perform what he says can be done, others doubt can be done, which is Inception.
Yeah.
And really what the idea they are trying to incept is to have this big energy conglomerate that is taking over the world.
Yeah.
Saito, who is the second largest energy provider in the world, cannot compete with the largest, whose founder is dying and the son is inheriting it. And Saito is trying to incept the idea that he needs to break up the empire.
Now, I find this fascinating because this is a great time to just quickly touch on the stakes of the movie, right? So they are subtly very, very high. So there's obviously the character level, which is Cobb struggling to get back to his family, but also struggling with reality. We'll touch on that in a moment. One of the fascinating things I noticed in this, on a third or fourth viewing, whatever it was Saito has an argument, effectively, like, at no point does he really back up his desire to do this, and you feel that he is just trying to get a competitive advantage and win back some of the market. It doesn't feel very altruistic, that what he's doing, but there is a moment in it when he mentions that actually Cillian Murphy's character's father, the Fishers, they're trying to effectively monopolize world energy. And if you imagine the effects that would have on governments, on the livelihood of the people in all the countries in the world, fascinating. Super interesting. But it's you only see it from his perspective,
and it's the very start when he says that.
Completely. It's a throwaway line, one that you would miss if you weren't really paying attention for it.
Totally.
I think the stakes are really, really good in this.
Well, the stakes get big in a couple different areas, like creatively, kind of like that's partly what Limbo is. We'll get into it later, but it raises the stakes.
Yeah.
So you get this movie where it's like an espionage thriller where he recruits the team, performs the heist, but what we find, the heist doesn't really start till almost less than halfway. I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or 2 hours and a half. And
about an hour in.
And an hour in, the heist actually begins.
Well, technically, a lot of the heists could be looked at as being them building the team and their confidence to do it. So A lot
So
of
there's
Elliot
prep
Page's role is
Yeah.
her understanding how to build the layers of a dream. One thing I did call out, which you love this movie, and I'm totally cool with that. I think it's good to have a little bit of a balanced view. People do cite, and it's noticed very much in like the Metacritic score, for example, things like that, that it is a very convoluted plot. Like, to say that having to watch it 3 or 4 times to really get to grips with it, I mean, that's not the best viewing experience for everyone. Not everyone can go back and watch a 2.5, 3 hour movie 3 or 4 times.
Convoluted is a negative term.
Yeah, that's why I say it's an issue.
I think that like, I would say convoluted is like Tenet is convoluted.
Oh, absolutely.
This is like complex and fucking meta. Like, I wouldn't say it's convoluted, but people have their opinions. Fair enough.
This was some of the feedback it got when it first came out. Some
of
of the
course,
criticism.
but just because a movie has to be rewatched for like complete comprehension, I wouldn't call it.
Not everyone has time to do that. Like,
yeah, that's art though. Any good art, when you reread it, rewatch it, re-listen to it, you learn and see new things.
Sure,
that would be my argument. Is like that's actually more of a testament to the fact that it's like really well made art. But like, you go watch Tenet 5 times, you still won't get it because there's something missing.
I won't be able to hear it. So like, that's the problem.
Exactly. But no, I think people could say that. That's fair. I mean, look, I think that everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Absolutely. Sure. I actually put down like, this is Nolan's attempt at a heist movie, and it is just so removed from what I think of a heist movie. Like, I just still have like, I think of like The Italian Job, for example. You know what I mean? Like, really obvious heist. I told him to blow the bloody doors off. Funnily enough, Michael Caine's in this one as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so removed from that, and it's just so artsy and different. I love it.
Not really. It's like it could be a bank. Like, there's a job. That's about the only thing you could call it as a heist movie. It's not. It's more philosophical and more, I guess, heady and investigating like identity and all. We'll talk about it later, but I don't think it's a typical heist movie. I agree. I think that's a flavor that's in this movie. It's much more philosophical than it is a heist movie.
It's what we talked about with Chris Nolan last time.
Yeah.
It's his auteur spirit, like taking a concept, distilling it to its real, its real base, like its core elements, and then doing something wildly different with it. It's like, here's the cityscape, let's bend it in half. Like, taking away all of your preconceptions. And I absolutely love that. Like before we get into performances then, let's talk a little bit about what happens next in the movie. So Cobb's getting the team together, and he's building a team of some veterans. So Tom Hardy in this we're going to talk about in a moment. He's part of the team.
What's his role called? Do you remember?
That's a very good question.
I think it's called, it's like the thief and the forger. Or something.
He's Eames. I can't remember. That's very
his name. No, his name is Eames, but each person in the team has a role. Elliot Page, their role is the architect, and they basically construct the dream environment.
Yes, correct.
Right? They're like, it's almost like a math, like product manager style thing, where like you have to create a maze that is just as convincing and as real life, but also has certain limits that benefit the people setting up the trap.
Yeah.
And then you've got Eames, who's the forger and the thief, whatever his name is.
This movie did bring one of the best memes out, the squinting Leo meme.
Yeah, it is true. I forgot that was actually a part of this movie.
I did not. I was waiting for it with bated breath.
No, until I saw it, and then I remembered.
I was waiting for it, and then all of a sudden I was thinking of the meme where it's Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like, it's that.
It's but that's when he's sitting at the TV dinner. The other guy, who's the other guy? The main dude that's not the main dude. He creates the potion. What is he called? I don't know.
Oh, Yusuf.
Yusuf, yeah. So there's a team. They all have a different role. I actually don't know what Joseph Gordon-Levitt's role is.
I don't actually know either.
He's kind of just hanging out.
He's sort of, he's
just Cobb's Robin.
He's just, come on, guys. He's a cheerleader. He's like, come on, guys.
So assemble the team and then practice. And
they're kind of practicing with Elliot Page. It's really interesting because Elliot seems to be the only one who's really questioning anything Cobb's saying.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating. And it's
she's like the foil to him because he used to be a really great architect and now he can't, which we'll get into in a bit.
Yeah.
But she is. And so she's kind of questioning all his rules because he's very smart. It's an interesting like little dynamic between them.
And we're going to say she when we're talking about Elliot Page a lot. And we really apologize because in this movie, she was still Ellen Page, whereas now they are Elliot. So we apologize if we offend, but it's incredibly hard to get that quite right. But we will do our best. let's talk a little bit about the performances then. So at a macro level, we can say it's fantastic. They're all really good in this. But I'd like to dig a little bit deeper because there are two characters who I love in this, and it's probably not the ones you'd think of. But when we've talked about Chris Nolan before, you've highlighted some real issues with his challenges, shall we say, in building emotional depth for characters in films.
I think, yeah, I was thinking about this as I did it, and it's emotional depth, but it's also flaws that change. Like, it's the basic journey of a character. Like, you start one way and you end another because of conflict and challenges that you face.
The classic hero's journey.
And if you look at like any of his movies, a lot of them, the main characters don't have that.
They don't have.
They're too time bendy. They're too like focused in on the mechanics and engineering of the plot and the heady stuff, and not enough on the character and what motivates them and drives them to change and act.
It's a gift and a curse. It's a dual-edged sword. I feel like because his plots are so complex, you need to focus on them so much.
He has to sacrifice things.
You sacrifice that, and otherwise it should be a 6-hour movie.
I don't know that he has to. I think he just chooses to sometimes focus more on that. And this movie, I think, is where you're going. He didn't really do that. There's more than the typical Nolan movie. Would you agree?
I would say for Cobb potentially, but I would say outside of that, not so much. But even Cobb as the main character, he's got a complex backstory, but he's effectively fighting against his own guilt and trauma.
That's a big thing.
Do you see him overcoming that?
I think Cobb has a very clear arc. Okay. I would disagree with you here. I think that the other character I would point to would be Fisher.
Okay.
The young Fisher.
Yes.
Has kind of an arc. It's manipulated, but he has an arc.
I'd say absolutely doesn't have an arc. I'd say he's just pushed away. He's just exactly like you say, manipulated into making a decision that he didn't.
Well, that's the point of the movie is that they say that, but that's still a thing that happened to him, and he deals with trauma, overcomes it, finds a way to move forward.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's not the same guy he was at the start of the film as at the end. Now, he doesn't get as much screen time, yada, yada.
And you don't get, like, literally, speaking of, really only Cobb is the only one who has any arc in this film at all. Like, outside of that, I can't think of anyone else moving from point A to point B to point C in this film.
I mean, he is the main character. Everyone else is a supporting cast. I would say Ariande has agency, and definitely you can see how she goes from, like, being like, fuck you to I'm going to try and help you through this. Like, but that's not really, she's not the main character. She's more of a foil to Cobb.
Sure.
So I think that's normal in a movie. What I would say though is Cobb's clearly got an arc, and it's as you go into the depths of the dreams, you face the depths of his emotional trauma and the depths of his guilt of the decisions he's made. And you basically go on his journey of tackling mental health and facing his mistakes.
Sure.
As you go further and further in. And at the start of the movie, some decisions he makes for the best of the team, he wouldn't, or for the best of himself, he doesn't make at the end.
The movie doesn't pass the Bechdel test, let's say that. There aren't two women who have a conversation in this film outside of talking about the main character.
But I will say this about the movie. There is a missed opportunity to go even further. I think particularly with the wife. She doesn't quite get fridged, but she kind of, in an Inception way, gets fridged.
She is completely fridged in this film. But
she's already dead, so she can't be fridged.
I'm going to call her out as being one of my real standouts in this film.
Yeah.
I think Marion Cotillard, I'm never going to say that right. We'll just say Mal, it's easier. Yeah. Mal, her performance as this deeply disturbed, like, intense figment of Cobb's imagination is fascinating and so well done.
Yeah, and I think it's like this is why I think it's actually better than some of his other films as well, is like the theme of mental health.
Sure.
As like a kind of like the journey into the dreams and the facing, like it does feel like a motif, or I guess maybe a metaphor for trauma and how it affects your mental health. And if you don't face it and you don't deal with it, what it does. And I think that's a great, like, I can't name another Nolan film that like has that succinct of a metaphor.
Sure.
And like that well architected and executed.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And the other character I wanted to call out, and it's more of a minor role, but Tom Hardy in this, he's just such a juxtaposition for the rest of the film. He's flamboyant. Yeah, he's original. His clothes alone are the best part of the film.
Yeah, no, I agree. He dresses quite well.
He dresses awesome.
This is, and to be fair, like, this is a sci-fi like philosophical movie.
Yeah.
There's not enough room. There's not really room for every single character to have this great character in-depth arc. But I do think that Cobb and the wife, if they nailed that too, it's a perfect film. That's the one gap. And I'd ask you, what would you change?
Well,
maybe we'll save that for later.
Let me ask you just one question before I move on then. You made the point that Marley's already dead at the beginning. Yes. How can she have an arc if she's already dead?
I'm not saying that she could. Are you saying how could she?
You're saying that she's got one of the best arcs in the film.
No, I'm saying if they nailed that, it would have been perfect.
She can't have an arc. She's already dead.
You can have an arc with someone already being dead.
Come on. It's a figment of Cobb's imagination. It's all Cobb's journey. It's not hers.
No, you can have an arc if you're already, you use flashbacks. It's not revealed linearly.
I think we see of her is from Cobb's imagination.
I'm actually saying that she doesn't. But
love this debate. Let's keep this going. But as we move through the film, then what they decide to do is they decide to incept Fisher, which is apparently what I say is impossible. I don't think they say it's impossible, but of course it isn't because they're going to do it. And what they do is they decide to create a multi-layered platform to do this. Yes. So what Ariadne has to do is think up 3 completely different locations, of which we're just going to call them dreams. And when they are within the dream, even Rick and Morty bloody parodied this. It's hard to explain. So they get into Cillian Murphy's dream initially in the real world.
Yeah.
Or so we think. And then in the next dream, they then put him to sleep, put him into another dream, and then into another dream. So there are 3 layers deep to dreams.
Yeah, but it's not all his dreams. They're doing different people's dreams each time. I forget whose it is. The first one I think might be his.
I think the first one was Elliot Page's.
Maybe it is. She architects all of them. And they can't be based off reality, because if you base it off reality, bad things can happen.
Because the second one's Fisher's, if you remember. Yeah. They trick him into saying that they're going into his head of security or whatever.
Yeah, but it's actually his.
Yeah. Okay, right, so this is very confusing, but my favorite part about this is it is effectively 3 different movies happening simultaneously. It's fascinating.
It's really cool.
And each happens to just intercept with the next. Influence.
Because like if you're in the top dream and the car's moving right, everything in the bottom dream feels suddenly like it's moving right. And you're like, what's going on? So they all influence each other. And basically their heist, their plan, because we got to finish the plot eventually. Otherwise, this will be a 3-hour podcast.
As we're going through.
Yeah.
We're talking about pacing now, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Oh, are we? Okay. As they're going through each layer, the real plan is, okay, we have to basically convince him, and they're doing it on the fly because they don't know him that well. They've done some recon, but we've got to basically convince him to find something that makes him believe that he should break up the father's empire. And how do they do that? Well, the first thing they do is they
pretend to kidnap him.
They pretend to kidnap him and his closest thing to a father figure, and start to seed the idea that there's another will that no one knows what it was. They need to find it, and that's the whole point. That's why these 2 people have been kidnapped. His head lawyer, who's his father figure, and his dad's confidant, and himself.
Great point in there as well. Tom Hardy does this. It's obviously just the dude, just the actor, but there's a bit where Tom Hardy is learning his mannerisms and stuff to play him, and does a little bit. It's so interesting. But the pacing of the movie in itself, it's one of the movie's strong points. Let's be perfectly honest with you. And the fact that they say early on, when you go into another dream, or when you go into a dream, time slows down, right? But then when you go into another dream, within that dream, time slows down even further.
It's exponential.
You're slowing down time, and it's really well done, because the things that are happening in the top level, for example, are slowly filtering through, and you
can just cut the movie really, it's a great way to yada over plot holes.
Completely.
Well. Yeah.
Completely. But like I say, it's when you combine the gradual tension building with this, sweeping overarching plot and the music, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's Hans. Yeah. And just time dilation in general, which is a Chris Nolan, staple. So interestingly done. So well done.
Yeah. And the action sequences, which we'll talk about too, that are created because of that, are just fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about action in just a moment. What's your favorite dream layer? And that's a weird thing to say, but which captivates you the most when you watch it back?
The second one for sure.
I think the second one's my favorite too. So what happens in the second dream one?
It's quick, but it's good.
Yeah. what happens in the second Dreamland is Cobb on the fly. So Leonardo DiCaprio on the fly does the meme face to start with, but he decides that he's going to throw all the rules out, and he decides to interact with Cillian Murphy's character and say, "Hey, you're dreaming. Everyone here's against you, and someone's trying to get to you. I'm your bodyguard," and convince him. And it's so well done. Yeah, really interesting. And just the way he, manipulates him in that scene, I love it.
Because when you're in someone else's dream, all the people around you are their perceptions, basically their bodyguards, trying to get you out if they realize it's a dream. And so
it's a subconscious fighting against you. Right?
He convinces him that he's actually a part of the subconscious, and that he's there to protect him while he's in the dream. Because if someone's trained to combat extraction, their subconscious is armed and can help them, and he's been trained. Because they learned that in the previous layer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's a great time to then maybe talk about action before we go into cinema and cinematography and world building. Because the best thing I think my favorite thing about this film, like in a genuine sense, is that it is quite methodical and world building, but they do really throw in these action scenes to give you a big curveball every now and again. And the action
and to nail down the concept they've told you
completely. And the action's amazing. And I think the first thing that stands out to me whenever I think of this film, and it probably is a really obvious thing to say, but it's that whole scene fight way.
Yeah.
Wait,
which way?
Hallway fight scene. I can actually speak. I can. And we're going to be touching on the lack of use of CGI in this in a minute, but like the fact that Chris Nolan created this huge corridor that he could literally spin around and move while they're all on wires and they're floating, and Gordon Levitt's fighting like one of the bad guys. It's amazing.
And it looks good still.
Yeah.
15 years later.
And awesome. I guess when you get down to the final layer, which is it's the snow layer. I don't know how any other way of saying.
It's like they're on a mountain.
They're on a mountain. I guess you could say the final layer is when they go into limbo, but the final layer of the dreams.
ChatGPT thought that was not the final layer. It was a separate thing, just so you know.
Interesting.
When asked.
Well, we'll talk about ChatGPT later on. But the actions, I find the action scenes in the snow less interesting than what we get before it.
They're pretty good still.
They're great.
They're just more, they're more standard.
They're more standard heist movie.
They're more Bond.
Exactly. And I don't mind that. Like, it's fine. But for me, I'm like, it's...
Of course. Yeah, the middle one's iconic, man.
Yes, it is literally.
And it's iconic because it ties to the scene before it. So when they're in that fight hallway scene, which you've talked about, the layer above, the car is flipping, which is causing the scene to happen in such a crazy way.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Interesting. I think the best thing about the action, one of the best things about the action in this movie is the sense of dread and danger you get whenever you realize Mal is coming into it. So we've not talked about Mal and why she's there. Do you want to preface that?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to do without just telling the whole story.
It's fine. We're there now.
Mal is Cobb's wife, who we find out pretty early on has died. We don't really exactly know how. And Cobb, one of the rules he lays out for Ariadne. God, that's such a tough name.
Ariadne.
He's got a Cobb and Ariadne. What a weird.
He's got a problem
combo there. Is that you cannot create
Coblin and Ariana Grande.
Coblet. You cannot create dreams from your own memory, because then it's impossible to determine what is real and what is fake.
Yes, correct.
And it can cause issues.
Yeah.
And we learn this pretty thoroughly through Cobb.
Yeah.
Because we're in the one of the dream states that she's architecting in the training, and our introduction to his wife, both in the first scene and in the training with Ariadne, is her trying to ruin the plan.
Yes, correct.
Because Cobb is the dreamer and she's his subconscious. And she's a very well-established self-conscious. And we wonder why. And as we find out, it is because Cobb has basically been living a second life in dream state.
Yeah.
To relive his most beloved memories of his wife who has passed.
Yeah.
And with that becomes his inability to distinguish between dreaming and reality. And when that happens, when he's dreaming, his wife can basically learn the whole entire plan and get him out of the dream by killing him in his subconscious.
Like immediately.
She can enter at any point, anytime he's dreaming, because he can't perceive that it's not a dream or if it's real.
Super fascinating.
The coolest part about it, I think, every time you see not only her, but we have a sequence where Ariadne steals into Cobb's dream, co-dreams with him, and sees all his memories. It's like a different floors of an apartment. And so you see all these beautiful memories and some scary ones that foreshadow things that are happening later in the movie that we find out. And really all throughout the movie, when there's dream states and all throughout the heist, you see random cuts from these memories that aren't supposed to be there. Kids playing, glass breaking, these things that indicate, oh, Cobb is introducing his memories into this dream state that's going to fuck up the heist. It increases the tension. You're wondering, when is Maul going to show up? When is she going to fuck things up, kill someone? Because every time she comes, her goal is to kill someone.
Kill someone, buddy.
Yeah, to put him to sleep, because she is one of his subconscious. So if Cobb's in the dream, that's what she's trying to do.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
The thing I find most interesting about that, what are you talking about, the multi-flawed apartment building, is it's kind of part of that. You find out it is actually more part of the lower level at some point. What do we call it? Not the subconscious. That's the wrong word.
It's
the limbo.
It's limbo. He's created memories.
So let's talk about cinematography and world building then. So I think this is a perfect time. So let's start with limbo, because they do end up going to limbo. What happens is they need to go down and save Saito. This is where the movie starts effectively. Saito's gone into limbo. You don't, but you find it. Yeah, as you go through, you find out that he's gone down there. He actually gets shot in the first layer, and that follows him all the way down to the last. And
we're not going to explain all the rules really properly,
much.
But to go 3 layers deep, they needed to add sedative.
It's real bad.
Sedative to the dream concoction, which means if you die, you don't actually wake up the way you typically would. You get stuck in a place called limbo. The only person that's ever been there before is Cobb and his wife when they were in the early stages of experimenting with dream technology.
Yes. And I think the world built by Nolan in that is amazing. It's beautiful. It builds on so many different ideas of memory and the things that you hold on to, even though subconsciously, even though you don't want to, and don't think you have. So the childhood home you grew up in and all that stuff. And it's this sort of sentimental backdrop, which is so juxtaposed against all of the cool stuff you see in the dreams.
Yes.
So I love that. So one of my favorite bits is when they're in Paris, and then everything starts exploding around them, and that is visually stunning in itself. But that is quite a clear. It is very clear cut in terms of its visual style. But then you get this sort of ambiguous, roaming, rolling subconscious in the bottom layer of limbo that's falling to pieces. It's disintegrating
because it's memories that someone else created long time ago,
crushed together. I love the dystopianness of it. It's so interesting.
Yeah,
the world is built on so many layers. And I know that's a dumb thing to say because it's layers of dreams and dreams and dreams, but as you get down, I almost feel like it should get more hazy as you go down. You know what I mean?
It's like lucid, and
it's fascinating.
And the only people that can, when you go into limbo, what's there is whatever was there last time. Sorry,
which is random.
No, it makes sense when I was thinking about it. When you go into limbo, there's either nothing there or there's whatever was there with the person that you're dreaming with, who's been there before.
Got it.
So it's he sets up all these really cool rules.
Which has only been the 2 of them. So,
theoretically.
Yeah.
Well, whoever you're sharing the dream with, if someone's been there before, that's what's there, because it's their dream. It's their lucid state.
Well, let's talk literally then. So Nolan, we've talked about it very loosely, but it's famous how much practical effects he used in this, and digital. He's not anti-CGI, but he's kind of I feel like there's a bit of him, there's a bit of resilience against it. He doesn't want to over rely on CGI, and he builds these incredibly huge sets so he can do for example,
it looks so much better because of it.
I've got a list of them, right?
Yeah.
So here's a list of the different things that they physically made, right? So the explosion in the streets of Paris was done physically. Real.
Not with Leo in it though, surely.
No, but just explosion was they were pasted over.
Yeah.
And then, so the water rushing into Leo's dream in the very first scene. You know the scene when he's in Saito's?
Yeah, that looked like it was real.
Yeah. The spinning hallway, obviously, because we're talking about it. The big train going down the street, real.
Really?
That was actually a truck that they'd built a train around.
The hospital is real as well.
The walking up the wall, in Ariadne and Cobb are walking and the street flips, or she's bent the street in half.
That looked fake.
Well, yeah, it's badly, the street is badly composited, but they're in a square room, and they just move the room around so that they can step up the wall. Really interesting. The tilting bar, when they're in Cillian Murphy's memory and the bar, the whole thing tilts.
Yeah.
They had to get a load of extras who could just like hold on for dear life. The Penrose stairs, the avalanche was real. Like an avalanche? Like, come on, Chris Nolan.
An avalanche. That was the kick, right?
That was literally, crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's really amazing. And to be frank with you, like, this movie's been almost not parodied, but parroted to death. Like, his visual style has been
so fucking good.
Yeah, you look at like anything from like Everything Everywhere All at Once all the way to like Doctor Strange. They don't steal; they leverage aspects of the beautifulness of this movie. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. Can we talk about Leo's hair?
Let's do it. When do you think Leo has the best hair in which movie?
I think this has got to take the cake.
More than Titanic? I like his Titanic hair.
Titanic hair is young. Titanic, Leo, like boy throb hair, but this is like
boy throb.
Like boy throb.
You mean heart
throb? Boy heart throb. Boy throb. Gross. 100, 200 episodes later, we'll get the boy throb.
Boy throb's coming back for our 200th episode for sure.
The heartthrob hair, but I mean, come on, dude, the flow in this movie.
What about The Departed? Short,
nah,
tight.
Come on, are you really? Do you not agree? This is peak Leo hair.
I'm just throwing different versions. What about The Revenant?
No, caveman.
It's certainly up there.
There's so much flow.
He's a good-looking bloke. Yeah. Let's be honest. So let's then just move on with the story a little bit. So the story then pivots. They get Saito out.
Yes.
And they go down to Limbo to save first Cillian Murphy and also Saito.
Yes.
Right. And what they find out while they're down there, it's just Cobb and Ariadne. Cobb has to come to terms with his guilt.
Yes. But why does he have guilt?
And that's what you find out in the scene, and it's really interesting.
And this is why I do think he's got a full arc.
Please.
Is because we find out that we're constantly wondering why can't Cobb let go, right? Because that's the crux of it. He's compromising everybody's life, this entire mission.
And no one seems to question it.
Yeah, that is weird. Other than, that's why it's like, what is old mate doing?
Yeah.
Old Joseph Gordon-Levitt, if he's not questioning his mate at this point. But the point is...
Getting paid.
Yeah, they must be paying him a lot. He's consistently compromising them because he can't seem to let go of his wife. He can't move on. He can't put, properly, what is the word? Mourn her and move on. And everyone wonders why and we find out that it's largely because in the last one of the last 20 minutes of the movie, he reveals that he has done Inception before. Yes. And it was on her. And it was when they were stuck in limbo a long time ago experimenting, and they couldn't get out because for some reason she had convinced herself. I think the actual quote is, and I will read it because it's just that good. The exact line Cobb says, she had locked something away, something deep inside her, the truth that she had once known but chose to forget. And this line refers to reality when they're in limbo. And he has basically performs Inception and in using her totem, which we haven't even talked about totems.
We'll get there.
He changes her totem to be spinning constantly instead of falling. And that is for her symbolizes, okay, that's not reality.
I'm in a dream. Yeah.
I'm in a dream because totems are there to help you realize whether something's in reality or not. And so he incepts the idea that she's in a dream to get them out of limbo and convince her to kill themselves so they can go get back to their family and their life. Now, what he doesn't realize is he's incepted this idea into her brain for all reality. And thus she's obsessed with the idea that she has to kill herself to get back to their real life and their real kids. And in tragic fashion, that is something that ends up happening. We see cuts of it throughout the whole movie potentially happening. And then eventually we do see her actually kill herself in reality.
Question about that. Now, this is one of... I'm skipping a little bit ahead here. This is one of my minor problems with this. No, it's not. I get it. It's great. So the interesting thing is...
No, I just mean it's like tough to analyze. There's so much going on.
She gets herself psychologically checked by 3 different psychiatrists. And then she tells someone she's fearing for her life. So this is why we find out Cobb can't go back to the States.
Because he's wanted for the death of his wife.
He's wanted for questioning about the death of his wife. However... if you think logistically about that scene, let's look at that scene, right? So what happens is the building they are in, they are 2 walls facing each other. They're probably 10, 15 meters apart. Mm-hmm. And she's clearly gone out onto the window ledge and walked round a rectangle piece and onto the opposing window ledge. So they're this 10, 15 meters apart. And then she jumps to her death. There is no way anyone who's into forensics would see the way she drops and go, she fell from the side of the building that Cobb was on. No chance.
I think I'm less concerned about that because she could have reverse jumped. Who knows? He could have been over there. Who knows? No one saw that Cobb was there in that part of the building. I'm less convinced about that. And he's not wanted for the murder. He's wanted for the questioning. The part that I'm confused on, this is one of the biggest plot holes.
Sure.
What does Sato just like get people out of murder?
Yeah, well,
like it wasn't like the border patrol that was the issue. She's still
it's
dead.
The government who wants him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think that's a big plot hole. But I take your point. I think one of the tougher parts for me about this is when it says she locked something away. Why?
Well, good question.
Why did she lock away some reality, the concept that limbo wasn't reality?
The thing that would show her that she's not in reality.
Like they left out a trauma that she's running from.
Yeah,
and that would have completely fit her character, would have given her more agency, would have given her an arc.
Yeah.
Even as a dead character, because you then understand why she's running away from something. And I think the thing that Christopher Nolan fucked up, he should have, and it's like really pompous of me to say about this great director, but he should have made it so that one of their kids, they went through a shared trauma of losing one of their kids in reality.
Sure.
Or something like that. And so when she goes into limbo, she doesn't have to live with that trauma anymore.
Interesting.
She can give into her own mental weakness and her own inability to move on and hide that from herself by tricking herself that limbo is reality. And that prompts Leo to feel like, no, we have real kids. We have one real kid left.
At least.
We got to be there for that kid and convince her to do the same thing. And I think it ties a nice little bow on their mutual arc.
Spicy takes. I love it. I think that would make way more sense. And that's, I mean, it's not even that difficult to add in. It's like an extra couple lines of dialogue. Yeah. So the film effectively then culminates with they get the key team get out of limbo.
Yep.
And then what they do is they have successfully incepted into Fisher that there is some other motive for his dad's second will.
Yes, which isn't just to fuck with them. It's not like this negative thing.
Yeah, it's not a negative. So what they wanted him to do is have the idea himself that perhaps the second will was to convince him to be his own man, because that's not following his father's
footsteps. Because that's a loving concept, which they think will stick more for Inception
than a painful one.
Yeah,
and there's a lovely bit in it where Cillian Murphy, and it's lovely for Cillian Murphy because for him, I think it's like catharsis. He gets to relive his final moments with his dying father, where the father effectively gives him permission to be his own person. Final moments he never actually had. This is all in his mind. And he goes into a safe and there's like a little, like a child's windmill in there thing. And he realizes he is incepted, that his dad loved him all along. He just didn't know how to express it. And then they do the kick, which we've not even talked about, which is just a jolt to wake you out of the dream. And they all come back out. It's great. It's really nicely done. They all wake up, all back on the airplane that they took off from, and then they just carry on. It's great. It's really nicely done. And the best bit about it is the tension it builds. We're going to talk about music in just a quick second because that plays a big part in this. But it's so nicely crescendoed. I really like the end of this film.
Yeah, no, it's a great. That's not even the end. That's the end of the heist. But like, there's still another questionable ending, which we'll get to
finish on. I think that's how we'll finish.
I completely agree.
What do you think of the music before we get there?
Look, I think I didn't really realize how much I liked it until the end.
I think it ruined movies.
The wah?
It didn't ruin movies, but every movie after this tried to do the same thing for like 10 years.
But like, did you notice like the Hans Zimmer like composition at the end when they had completed the heist? Like that like stood out to me as like one of the coolest bits of music in the movie. It's like 2.5 minutes and straight. I
think for me, like music's like 98% of the time, I just don't notice it. There's 1% of the time where it's bad, and I go, "Oh, that's bad."
Usually,
and there's 1% of the time when it's so good, you go, "Whoa!"
And I think it helps because there's no dialogue in that ending. It's just him walking. You're like, they're all kind of realizing, "Fuck, we fucking did it.
We did it!"
And they like he's getting through like passport control or but like that music was particularly.
Well, before we get into the tones and themes of the film, then DL, do you want to preface that one final mystery that we're going to talk about after?
You want to talk about it after, and I preface it now?
Preface it now and we'll talk about it.
Well, we then get to the end of the movie where we see a sequence that we've seen many, many times, or a similar sequence to Cobb's kind of remembered memories of the last time he saw his kids. And we're left with him actually going and seeing them and seeing their faces, which he's refused to do because he promised himself he would only do it for real.
In reality.
And he goes and hugs them. And right before he does, he spins the totem on the top, which is the spinning top, which was Maul's kind of totem and let her know what reality was and what it wasn't. And he walks away as it's spinning and we see him saying hi to his family. And then it ends.
Spinning. It
ends as it's spinning. Some say it falters right
wobble.
At the end.
It has a little wobble.
Which, could mean anything.
Implies anything.
It could imply that it's going to collapse.
A totem is effectively a way you anchor yourself in reality. It is a thing that only you know its dimensions, its weight, its size. And if you hold it or you have it with you and whatever is unique about it, you can feel that. That's how you know you're in reality.
You're in a dream or not a dream, because you're the one that knows what the totem's like, so no one could recreate it.
I really like that idea that it leaves it on one big mystery, or at least unsolved ending, because everything nowadays, it has to be leading to like the next thing in the franchise, or it has to be a big...
I think it's a perfect ending.
I think it's great.
You can have a sequel as well with a perfect ending like that and not address the ending. But it'd be hard to in this movie. I just mean in general. But this is a perfect ending. And the question is, what is your interpretation?
Well, I'll tell you my interpretation of the ending is you guys should all go to www.podcastassemble.com and check out my blog where I got ChatGPT to definitively answer what happens at the end of this movie. And you can tell me what you think, DL.
I think that the ending to me is a dream.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense that he would have the kids would be doing the exact same thing in the exact same way that they are as the previous memories. But every time I watch this movie, I change my mind. So
now, do you want me to ruin that for you just a little bit?
With your little ring theory?
It's not. This is so at a convention not long ago, Michael Caine was asked the question, what did he think? And he was told by Chris Nolan that any scene Michael Caine was in the real world.
He's a load of shit.
And that's the end of the film.
Load of shit. I don't believe him.
All right, let's talk a little bit then about the tones and themes of the film, deal. What do you reckon?
Well, there's some big ones.
Well, the nature of reality in general.
Some pretty large themes to deal with here. And I would say...
This is your forte. This is where you really kick in.
Guilt and redemption.
And responsibility.
Yeah, and responsibility. I would argue like there's definitely, I don't know if it's a theme or a statement. Maybe a theme is a statement. I guess usually it is. But that like facing your trauma is the only way to kind of move on, right?
Sure.
Like facing your fears. Reality versus illusion, obviously. And really kind of what is real, what is illusion, who defines it? Is it defined by you as a person and your identity? And identity and self-discovery, which is really, I think, poignant for both Cobb and Fisher.
Yeah, agreed.
So Fisher, this is why I think he does have an arc. He self-discovers.
I think it is.
Maybe not, maybe so.
It's that he hears what he wants to hear, I think.
Yeah.
Which
is like, you get to decide, right? And you might even be able to say like, maybe he would have always done that. Who knows? Did they even need it in Incept? Well, who knows? You'll never know. But I guess I think that's a theme that's explored both with Cobb and him. And what does Cobb live for? Does he live for the past or does he live for the future? All sorts of stuff like that.
It's multi-layered in layers of dreams. Yes. And it's great. I think the guilt and responsibility one was the things that really stood out for me. Yeah. And like how you deal with that, how you move on with your life, how you take progressive steps, positive steps to deal with something that's maybe affected you in ways that even you don't want to stand up to.
Because, and it's a great metaphor for if you don't, how they will wreck with your life, right? You will get, if you don't deal with your trauma holistically and healthily, you'll be on the street and a train will just come by and wreck you. Like it's like literally the most on the nose like metaphor, but it's really good. And with that take, I wanted to talk about some motifs as well.
Please.
Mazes. Another motif that frequently kind of crops up in this film is the maze. And really, I think this motif serves to underscore the idea that characters have to try and navigate their own psyche, their own self-conscious selves, their own kind of trauma, as we've talked about. And that's why you're seeing mazes throughout the entire film, because not only is it like obviously there to help construct the heist, but every single character is kind of navigating something like that in a way.
It's just sad they didn't explore that each of the characters' own mazes a little bit more.
Yeah, it's hard. 4-hour movie. Mirrors,
would you take a 4-hour cut?
I would fucking 100%. I actually think you have 3 characters that probably do that if you fix the mall thing.
I think if you focus,
maybe 4 if you count Arianda, because she's
the one
she almost leaves and then comes back because she's like, no, I can't.
I think she was the one I would have wanted to see more of.
100%. No, but I'm saying like I think that she still even has a little bit of like, she deals with like, how do I deal with the fact that I like this drug of a feeling of creativeness, but I'm also dealing with this guy who's kind of fucking us all over.
He's a nightmare, yeah.
Another motif, mirrors. A lot of like looking in, you see them all over the place, and it's like
your own
self-examination of Cobb. Water, which is like what's under the surface of your consciousness, what's under the surface of your facade, what is your subconscious.
He's really enjoying this, guys.
Yes. Metaphors.
You
got one for me?
No, I think that's fantastic. You've literally said everything that happens in this movie. Well, look, what we like to do now is we like to do a thing where we talk about the 3 best and 3 worst parts of this movie. Usually, if we were doing a new thing, we would talk about non-spoilers, because we like to give you 3 reasons why you might want to watch it non-spoiler and 2 reasons why you might not want to watch it, which are non-spoiler. But, DL, what for this movie we've spoiled the shit out of are your 3 best and 3 worst?
Leo's hair.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Gotta be up there.
Way up there.
Beautiful thing. The originality of the script. I mean, there's nothing else like it.
Agreed.
Right? And like how well, it's like the perfect action movie. The script is perfect.
In a heist movie.
And it perfectly enhances the action because of how well the script is architected. Like the plot.
The
plot, I should say.
Agreed. I like the practical effects.
Yeah.
The practical effects are just insane.
That was my 3rd as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, good we looped over each other there. The interconnected nature of the multiple layers, it's a huge part of it, but it's really interestingly done how, like, the top layer, it affects all the way down. Like, it's mind-blowing the way Chris Nolan's mind works to think about how all these things can help each area. And I think Marl was my 3rd favorite one. Like, of this movie, for someone who's so complex and is a reflection of Cobb's own guilt, there's a really beautiful bit at the end where he's letting go of this version of her that is in his mind, and he says like that's what I'm saying, and it's beautiful. And he sort of says like you're not my wife.
No matter
She's
how
dead.
Good I can be. Yeah.
You're a reflection of what I remember of my wife, which is nowhere near as good as she could possibly ever be. Yeah. And the way Marl reacts,
she shanks him.
The
stabby.
The stabby, your favorite thing. But that whole performance and that whole character are just amazing.
Agreed.
Worst?
I decided I'm not doing that. The ending is ambiguous, so you're getting 3 more good ones.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, the cast is phenomenal. Alongside,
so rather than our usual 3 best, 2 worst, you just did 3 best and 3 best.
6 best.
Okay, all right. Terrible. The new listeners, we're better than this normally.
He's fanboying. I love the allegory of Cobb as he goes more down in the depths of the dream sequence. He faces his deepest, darkest traumas head on. It's just like so Dante's Inferno. Well, it's fucking good.
I'll give you some worsts then, just to counteract you a little bit, make people think that it's
There's one
not
bad thing.
old.
The mod backstory needs work. That's it.
No, I'd say there's more than that. I'd say, I called out at the very top there. I'm going to say it again. It's convoluted. Like, if you watch this the first time,
wrong answer.
Don't say what you want. Like, the way I look at this, right, is my brother, like, my brother, he's got a 2-year-old. He's a teacher. He has 0 time. If he watched, I know he likes this movie. This is just a hypothetical, but he doesn't have time.
He's reaching.
He doesn't have time to sit and watch a movie 4 times like you do. He can't watch it every weekend like you do.
He's reaching.
I'm not at all.
You just said it's hypothetical. You're in dreamland right now.
I think if you don't, let's say hypothetically you don't like it the first time.
Like Gail didn't like it.
Well,
People
exactly.
don't like it. It's fine.
She's not going to rewatch it.
Doesn't mean it's bad. People don't like everything has fans.
What I'm saying is there's another side to it other than your fanboying and girling all over.
She didn't even finish it once.
Well, that's
every time she tries to watch
go.
this movie, she gets halfway through. She's like, "There's too much action. And it's too confusing."
You've just A/B tested it for me. Thank you so much. The second one for me is the exposition. It gets a little bit grating after a while. Like I feel like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is there.
He is the narrator.
Just
He's actually the narrator.
I'm like, all right, cool. And there's every other 5 minutes, Leonardo DiCaprio is like, he either says, I don't understand, or you won't understand. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I won't understand then.
I don't think he says that.
He says it
What
a
I
lot.
will say is I do think
Jordan,
you're right about Jordan Levitt Hewitt or whatever the fuck it is. Jordan. He is just like there to one line. And the one thing I'll say is it's like, and you have to it's impossible to do it without doing this. So you gotta concede that. But he's always explaining shit while they're on the mission.
Yeah.
It's like, yo,
do it beforehand.
You had like an hour of in-game training time. Get that shit out. Like, why are you explaining this to her now?
Why is this just coming out of this moment? All right, final one then is I just think Tom Hardy should have had a bigger role in this.
I thought that, but then I realized, and I have one of my notes.
He actually has a big role.
He actually is in it a lot. I was like, dude, Tom Hardy's like...
More lines then.
Yeah, more lines would be helpful. He's just killing a lot of people.
He just goes on a muck.
Tom Hardy is the MVP. Like, he is leaderboard high on COD right now.
He's pretty good at this.
He is Halo Supreme Leader Extreme in the multiplayer matchmaking.
He's pretty good.
And Cobb sucks. Cobb had one job.
Yeah.
And he totally chokes.
Yeah.
Kill your wife in the third layer.
Pull
the trig.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
All right, then. So what we do now is we don't have a rating system here at Podcast Assemble. What we do is we talk about if this movie is better or worse than the most average movie we can think of. We don't say this is 5 stars out of 5. We don't say this is 1 layer out of 3. We just ask the question, DL. Is this movie better or worse than 2018's Aquaman? I think I know what yours going to be, so I'll tell you mine.
A fish's memory is a wild... They don't remember shit. Like, I don't remember that damn movie. Why you even ask me this question? It's fucking stupid.
Look, it's obviously
visceral reaction.
Based on your love for this movie, it's pretty obvious. But I would say myself, I definitely think it's better than Aquaman 2018. I think the action's more impressive. There's less layers of CGI for the sake of CGI.
What is CGI in this movie?
I think it's more layered on. It's more used.
Limbo, maybe. Yeah.
It's more used to improve things rather than being the background, if that makes sense. It's a better movie than 2018's Aquaman, of course it is. Let's finish up then, DL. Do you want to finish with a couple of theories before we do true or false trivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hit me with your best theory.
I like this one. It's not the best one, but I like it. It's not really a theory either. The entire movie is an allegory for filmmaking.
Yes. Big fan of this.
Which is like totally true.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, and you can tell
that was my true or false trivia, so good.
Oh, fuck. I also like this one though. You get a bonus runner up. The characters represent different parts of Cobb's mind. They're all his perceptions.
That was one I thought of when I was watching a movie.
Was it really?
So weird, yeah.
Okay. What's yours? Is that actually it?
That was the thing I was thinking while I was watching the movie. That's so interesting.
Like,
are they different elements of his psyche? Like, while
this is just him descending into madness.
Yeah, seriously.
Like,
honestly.
no, I think that is like he keeps it adequately vague for this kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I think my favorite random theory about this film is the totems. Right. So we talked about what the totems are. Now, interestingly, you are supposed to have your own unique totem, but Cobb, he uses Marl's. He uses someone else's. And there is a theory that in the film, Cobb, when he is awake, is wearing his wedding ring. But when he is not awake, he does not have it on. So in all the different layers, there's no wedding ring. And then at certain ones, he's got his ring on. So well, that's the question, is does he have it on in the final scene? And I'm not 100% sure. I like that as I tried
to see, and I don't think I could.
Can't see it. Maybe that's part of the ambiguity.
Yeah. He would probably be wearing it when she commits suicide.
More than likely, you would assume.
If
he wasn't though, or you couldn't tell, that would be fascinating.
It would be. All right, I'll give you my last one. Leo is obviously dreaming because his wife is 35, so the whole thing's a dream. Anyway, we're going to do that joke for many years to come.
Okay, final NDL. Let's wrap this up. Do you want some final bits of True or False trivia?
Yes.
Let's do it. What we do now is I ask Dre some trivia that I found usually on IMDb, and he has to guess whether it's true or if it's false. True or false, DL? Chris Nolan has said that the snow-based third level is in fact inspired by a Jason Bourne movie.
True.
Oh, it's actually false. It's inspired by his favorite James Bond movie, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. You know the bit where Bond skis off the side of the cliff?
Oh, that's so obvious. How did I fuck that one up?
So obvious. I thought I was throwing you an easy one there to start you off.
I just was like, was that even out yet? And I was like, sure. Yeah.
All right, a couple more very quickly. Despite prominent billing, Sir Michael Caine only had about 3 minutes of screen time in the whole film. Is that true or is that false?
He's there in the classroom. He's not even on the... Yeah, I think it's true.
It is true. 3 minutes of screen time. That's insane.
Yeah.
To be fair, like, he's not very mobile these days. Even 2010, it's a bit wonky to have him doing a lot of stuff. 2 very quick ones then before we wrap up. This was the last movie shot on film to win an Academy Award for Best Cinematography until 2016.
Like film, not
as
digital.
In film, not digital.
Got it. True?
It is true. And the next one was La La Land in 2016.
Interesting.
Which is, I find that fascinating. So many filmmakers using digital these days. Finally then, James Franco was in talks. Was in talks with writer and producer Chris Nolan to play none other than, God, I need to check the character's name. To play none other than Eames in this movie.
Oh. Hardy's better.
That's a Tom Hardy character.
Hardy's better because he's also a juxtaposition to Joseph Gordon, fucking idiot.
Is that true or is that false?
It's true.
It's not. He was actually in talks to play Arthur, who's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. But couldn't because of scheduling conflicts.
That actually, he could play that.
Yeah.
With Hardy.
I think so too. Last thing then before we wrap up, DL, let's rank the Chris Nolan movies. This is our final part of the anthology that we do every time we do one of these. We have talked about Inception, we have talked about Tenet, we've talked about The Prestige, we have talked about Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Memento. That is 6 movies.
Okay.
Which is your favorite? Obviously, this is your favorite.
It is.
In fact, you know what? Let's just do what you said last time. Matt, roll the tapes back.
I do. Do you remember what you said? I wonder if I'll get it right again.
I've since rethought about it and I've reshuffled them.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm pretty sure I said Inception, the one with the magicians, Prestige, Memento, Interstellar, and I forget.
Dunkirk and Tenet.
Ooh.
Dunkirk's good.
I think Dunkirk's above Interstellar.
Yeah.
Dunkirk, Interstellar, Tenet.
I've gone Inception. I've gone Memento. I've gone Dunkirk, Interstellar, Prestige, and Tenet. And I would only put Prestige that far down because I didn't love it the first time I saw it, whereas the other ones I had very positive, glowing reactions to. Whereas Prestige had to grow on me over time. Like, I love it. Great film. Way better than Tenet.
You could put Memento above it as well. Like,
Memento is my second favorite.
I think that is fair, but it's more of a novelty film. I think in a lot of ways.
I think it's just a director finding his roots.
Yeah, I just there's more character stuff in I think in Prestige. Which is,
okay. All right. Well, DL then. Let's wrap this show up. Do you want Cupboard's correspondence?
You know I do. Guys,
we love it when you message us. We love it when you send us stuff. Thank you so much to all the friends of the show. We really appreciate it. You can hit us up at podcastassemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com or just go to the www.podcastassemble.com where you can find all of our details and just contact us there anyway. We have got a couple of fun bits of correspondence this week. So first and foremost, friend of the show, Joe, he messaged in and said, DL, he agrees with you. He sent in, there's a final Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer that's been released. I haven't watched it. He sent it to us and said, this is a big deal. He says he thinks that this movie could make or break the MCU.
For sure.
Do you agree with that?
It's not going to be bad. There's no way this movie's bad.
I don't think so either.
So this movie's going to be good. I actually don't. What I will say is it's important, but did I say that it's going to make or break the MCU? If I did, I disagree with myself because I think that
the rule of yes in podcasting, DL breaks it with himself.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be good. And I think that actually doesn't matter because Gunn is done with the MCU.
Gunn is
and
done.
what matters is can Feige continue to be good? Does that make sense?
Can he hold the fort down?
Can he make
Jimmy?
another good movie?
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, final piece of correspondence we got from friend of the show, Captain Danger. Love it. Thank you, Captain Danger. We really appreciate it. He actually takes that a step further and says, if Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is crap, he's out of the whole thing. No more MCU for Captain Danger. I think that's a bit strong. I think it's going to take a little bit more than that.
I agree. I'm out if it's bad.
No, you're not. You will definitely watch Secret Invasion.
I'm out if it's bad, but because I know it's not going to be bad.
You'll watch it for the podcast. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate when you hit us up. DL, wrap the 100th episode up.
Fuck, it was a long one, boys. The passing of the pod.
Oh, yes.
Pass it on.
Hey, guys, if you liked what you're hearing, pass it on to some friends.
If you finished that.
If you got this far.
Dream state of an episode. Give us a 5-star review. Thank you to friend of the show, Mr. Matthew Bliss of Blissery.fm for editing this episode. Yeah, good luck. If you are a budding podcaster thinking of hiring a podcast engineer to edit your podcast, look no further than this episode, which needed a lot of editing, and Mr. Matthew Bliss. Let him know at email by email at info@blissery.fm or visit blissery.fm for more information about Matt and his podcasting services. God, I'm struggling through this one. You can also listen to his video game news podcast, The Dead Drop, fucking 10-minute episodes twice a week. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, DL.
And until next time.
Here's till another 100.
Yeah, we'll see you on the last. We'll hopefully see you next week, but not.
Well, we'll
on 200. I was going to say we'll see you the next 100.